How's it going, everyone? Before I hear, welcome to Heliopolis Radio. Today, I've been fortunate to be joined by John Bliss, author of The False Paradigm of Today and the Timeless Truth of Tomorrow. He has a very interesting take on not just our human psyche, but some of our societal structures and how they're based on certain, perhaps you could look at them as false perceptions of self. Is all subjective, right? Everyone has opinion on what is and what's not, but I'm interested to hear how John will relay this perspective to us as an audience and also share a bit about himself. So, without further ado, I hand it over to you, John. Tell us about yourself
Oh my gosh, I don't know how to go with that. That's so darn open-ended. Everybody could talk about themselves for like 24 hours.
in a concise 5 minute way.
I am not a writer really, but I wrote a book. It's 450 pages. I've been writing for an hour a day, more or less, for 13 years.
Wow.
But what I am is an engineer. I focused on energy efficiency and making buildings energy efficient. I guess that's about it. I'm one of those all-around type guys. I was never really great at anything, but I was good at everything. And yeah, but I think that's all I can tell you.
No, I love it. No, thank you. And it was obviously concise and it was perfect. And so, just kind of reading about you, you question yourself a lot in terms of you
Mm.
seem as a person who has had a lot of time to introspect. And as you mentioned, you've done a whole bunch of different things. Usually, people do a bunch of different things. They tend to go on a quest of just asking themselves why are they doing what they're doing? Does it make sense what they're doing? Usually, when they
Mhm.
get to that point, they shift and they do something else. So, I was going to probably ask the first thing was, um, why do you believe, or do you believe people should constantly question their actions and why they do things?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the problem is, yes, I do. Um, that the problem as I see it is that it's kind of cruel, the whole human situation. We were
Mm,
born without a rule book. There was
mm,
nothing to tell us what is real, not what is real. What should we be doing in life? How do you know you won this game?
mm,
What are you supposed to do? And I noticed it. I went to college in California, and
mm,
I remember looking around at all the other students, and they all were on this track. It's like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to do really good in school. I'm going to get a really good job. I'm going to get married. I'm going to
mm,
buy a house. I'm going to pay a mortgage. I'm going to have children. Then I'm going to retire, and then I'm going to die. That was the plan. And that's the plan, at least in the United States in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, that everybody was doing. And I didn't, when I looked around, I didn't think those people were happy. I didn't think they were
mm.
fulfilled. And I thought that was a really bad plan. And I'm not really sure. I don't know. I never was in their head. I don't know if they really questioned themselves. I always questioned it and I always thought, this is stupid. I don't want to do that. I look at the people around me, that are older, they're not happy. They're not fulfilled. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that. So I looked and I looked and I looked and of course, I didn't find anything. There's no rule book. I mean, what am I going to do? I'm going to look and find someone who looks like they're successful. I mean, they have the same problems everybody else has. So, yeah, should we be questioning ourselves? Absolutely. Is there an easy answer? No, I don't have it. I think I know the direction that would give people the most joy and purpose in life. I do believe that. Um, but I'll let you ask another one because I feel like I hit a wall here.
No, and so it's interesting because philosophy and truth are often kind of subjective, right? We draw understanding from our own perspective of life, and
Yes.
kind of the interesting dynamic that society have is as a collective we share thoughts and ideas with each other, and sometimes those ideas catch on, and sometimes they catch on so strongly. As you mentioned, you talk about identification, group identification. Those things become an identity. And it's interesting, you also say that those were never our own. Those are things we picked up from someone else's thinking pattern. But because they
Hmm.
were so convenient around us, we take them as our own. So I guess, do you believe, because I think, developing your own philosophy and your own introspection is a gift of life, but it also can become a burden because when you share it, people might take it as a truth. And that was never your intention. And I'm sure, because, we have all these funny, people, especially social media, they do all these quotes from Marcus
Oh
Aurelius,
yeah,
all these, I'm
yeah,
like, I'm
yeah.
sure if you met them, they weren't actually intending for you to, I mean, they were doing it for themselves, right? They were doing it for their own understanding of life, not yours. I've always found that interesting. It's like we take
Oh,
something
that's
that,
good.
yeah. So I was gonna ask, do you feel that the root cause of our suffering is actually this gift of developing our own perspective and opinion on life? Is that maybe kind of one of the
Oh, jeez, that's very difficult. I don't know.
You're a smart guy, so I
Okay,
had to ask some
well,
type of questions with substance.
that's boy, I didn't realize you're so thoughtful. Okay, the root cause of suffering. I don't know. I'm going to guess. I'm just one man. But before I even give you my guess, I will give you a more general response of my place in the universe. The way I see it is we are all manifestations of God. We are God, and we are all different. We all have different talents. We have different wiring in our heads, and we're all playing this life game, and we all have different ends. Like getting rich isn't going to make everybody happy. It'll make some people happy, but not a lot of them. And there's all these different things that we need to do. And so we're all playing a different game at the same time. But one of the problems is that most of us don't know what game we should be playing. That's the problem. They're playing the wrong game. They're playing the game that someone else told them to play. Their father told them, or their baseball coach, or their Boy Scout master, or their pastor, and they're playing the wrong game. And so there's, I guess you could say, a couple roots of suffering. One is that you're playing the wrong game, that you don't know what you're supposed to be doing. If you knew what you were supposed to do and you were actually trying to do it, even if you failed, but you are trying, and every day you try, I think there's a certain drive there and a certain joy in knowing that I'm doing my thing. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So I guess that's number one. The other one, I think, and this one's a little more abstract, I think that the root, and this comes down to, I mean, this is a South African thing, and you know it so much more than me. And I mentioned it to you in an email about this whole Ubuntu concept, right? Ubuntu.
Yes.
I think that the more selfish we are, and the more self-absorbed, and it's all about me and getting my stuff, the more we are that way, I think the more unhappy we are. And the more that we realize that really we're part of a group, and we thrive when the group thrives, or and
Yeah.
and if you could have that whole attitude of trying to help everyone around you to lift their lives up and be better, if you could do that and have that attitude, you will be so much happier. And I mean, that when you serve or help other people, that always brings you joy. It does. So that would be my two answers.
Interesting. And just actually maybe touching on that is I think we struggle with the whole element of humility. And at least looking in my own life, it comes from a place of insecurity, right? We're brought up in this culture that's very competitive, right? It's a survival oriented, that in order for you to really be thriving, you need to have the most. It's just a thing, right? And our society really pushes this. And what you speak of, the whole thing of actually selflessness, it's not very popular because the very act of selflessness is, there's an authenticity required to it. You can't be selfless without paying the price for it, right? To not, but as you mentioned, there's the metaphysical reward of peace in your heart, knowing that you did right by someone else, or you did, as you mentioned, your best to make sure someone benefited from encountering you, rather than the typical worldly nature of how things were. It's what can I get and how can I one up this person? What can I? And so, and I actually find it interesting because, okay, but I don't know. That was just my little add-on to what you mentioned. I do agree that there is a certain peace that comes from doing things that sometimes don't have a material benefit. But as you mentioned, there's a certain psychological and spiritual, I guess, peace or understanding that, you're doing something that is
a sense of joy, a little bit of joy in knowing you're helping someone. If you have a friend that's really down and you can help them out of their problem, it makes you feel great, I think. And yeah, there's a something that the Buddhists taught me was that. So I ran a business. I didn't mention that, but I have. I own a business for about 20 something years, and with business, it's up and down and up and down. Sometimes you're making a ton of money and you're on top of the world. And about 6 months later, you're going to lose everything you own. You're going to lose the business. You're going to have to fire everybody. You're going to lose your home. You're going to have no savings left. It's all going to hell. And that's the cycle. That's the cycle in business. It's great. And then it's awful. it's great, then it's awful. And after a while, when it's great, it's going to be awful again. You just wait a year, maybe 6 months, but it's coming. And anyway, shoot, so I was telling you all that stuff, and then I forgot what I was going to tell you. So, the Buddhists taught me that if you are having hard times, like let's say in business or in finance, let's say in your own, you're kind of broke, they said the best thing to do is give money away. Now, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, wait a sec. I don't have any money. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pay my employees, and you're saying I need to start donating to charities? Yes.
Wow.
Why? And so the way they see it, and I think they might have something here. There's a lot of things that just aren't rational, and rationality is great, but it's just a tool, and everybody thinks it's the only tool that matters, and it is not. It is so limited, but we'll get to that maybe later. But this is not a rational act. You are broke, and now you're giving things away. Well, the Buddhists see it as, look, if you start giving things away, the universe will see you as a conduit. You are a conduit, and you are helping. You are doing all these great things. They will give you more money so that you can do more great things. Wow. The more you give away, the more you'll have. The more you give away, the more you'll have. And I did that. One of these a few times when I was really down, my business was really in bad shape. That's when I just start giving money away.
Wow.
Now, do I know it works? I don't know. I'm just telling you what I was taught. I don't know if it's true, but I kind of believe it.
Wow. It is interesting you mentioned that because especially in the times we're living in, so tough they are in many facets.
Yes.
It's interesting how these spiritual concepts are becoming more profound and they have deeper meaning when you're pushed to the fence. I think what you'd say if you were to mention that to someone who's been successful without having to give, they wouldn't believe you because they'd be like, I'm still doing well, I'm still doing good. But I guess there is a certain time where life does happen, and the cycle of karma. And Buddhist karma is a very strong concept of it.
Yes.
You have high tides, and you have to have your low tides. And I feel like societally we're in a proper low tide now, where these concepts that you're sharing now are probably more profound. Because I know for a fact there are a lot of business owners that are suffering. There are a lot of people that are looking to find an alternative way to escape suffering. But what you're mentioning here, it actually kind of hit home. It made me really realize, like, you're right, maybe this is the opportune time to really open up your heart and actually live from a place of integrity. And who knows, maybe they'll be rewarded. So it's interesting that you share that, especially kind of considering the times we're living, all going through whatever battles we are. But the economic ones, definitely from what I've noticed from who else, just in my own life and the people I've engaged with, the economic one, the financial one, because we're so attached to money, we need it. So such a what you're mentioning, it's quite liberating, and it's quite I don't know. There's a certain wisdom to what you just said. So I'm not too sure if it resonates with everyone, but I do kind of agree with you that maybe if it's not happening for you, it doesn't mean you shouldn't not believe in the abundance of the universe. Perhaps that is a wisdom of truth there.
It seems to work. I don't know. I don't know. Well, so yeah, there's a couple. We're just wondering, but I hope it's okay.
No worries.
Yes, I believe it. But I was successful in business. I actually, I had the ups and downs, and I was on top of the world making all this money, and then I was also on the bottom, and I was losing everything, and then it came back up and down and up, and I managed to sell at the top. And I was very happy. I mean, not the very top. I'm sure it's going to go down again, and it's going to go up probably even higher than where I sold it. I don't care. I don't care. I didn't sell when I was desperate. But what I was going to mention, oh, God dang it, I keep forgetting everything I was going to say. I forgot. I'm sorry. I can't take it any further.
No,
sorry
it's all good. It's all good.
I have to cough for a second.
No problem. No problem.
Excuse me.
But no, thank you for bringing that up. And obviously, coming to your book, you mentioned 13 years writing it. I did actually wonder how that came about. And did you did you find yourself, because I know the process of writing a book, especially the book of your nature, it's a lot of evaluating your thought patterns and reevaluating. So are there sometimes when you're writing the book that you actually ended up removing things because maybe you didn't believe that anymore? Or maybe like, okay, this doesn't make sense.
Well, they didn't work. They didn't work. There's actually one logical contradiction in this book still. And I'm curious if anyone's ever going to catch it. I know where it is, but I don't know if anyone else will. But I guess there's certain parts, yeah, where I had to delete a lot of stuff. I probably deleted about a fourth of what I wrote. It's 450 pages. It's a lot. But no, yeah, some of it, yes, I did change, but no, not so. Mostly I did
That's,
not. And I want to explain, I guess you asked why did you write it? So it took me about I wrote pretty much for like an hour a day, hour and a half. And I just got exhausted after that. I couldn't write anymore. So I just go back to, I mean, I was running a business. I was doing that too.
mm,
So, but anyway, I guess what started it was when I was really young. I was eating these psilocybin mushrooms. They're magic mushrooms. I don't know if you've heard of that. Yes, you have. And
I've had them before. Very interesting experience for sure.
okay, so I think it might have been my first try at them. And I was with my brother and some of his friends. We were on the beach in Central California on the coast, and we all ate it, and I didn't feel anything. It didn't work for me. And they all started, I don't know, doing whatever they do on it. And they took off. They left me alone because I don't know why. But it did work on me. It just was a little slow. And I remember about 4 a.m. waking up, and I mean, I don't know. I don't think I was asleep. It's just I remember from 4 a.m. afterwards, and I don't know what happened for the previous 6 hours.
Sheesh.
But at 4 a.m, I was laying down on the beach, face down, or nearly face, on my stomach, and and this song kept repeating in my head. It's a Brazilian song by Milton Nascimento and Chico Buarque, I guess is his name. It's called O Que Sera. It's the most beautiful song, and it has these really, really sad trumpets that just repeat over and over again. And the sound of trumpets to me was about how life is so sad. I mean, the folly, the inevitable folly of man, in that, you have these great dreams as a youth. You're going to do all this great stuff. You believe all this great stuff, and slowly, it all just kind of goes to hell, and then you end up dying, and it's over, and that's it. It's like it didn't happen. But that was, but the most important thing was what was going on in my head. And what I saw myself as a youth, as I was, that I was going to get married. I was going to find some woman that I thought was beautiful, and I fell in
Mm,
love. We will have children, and but when young, very idealistic, everything's going to be great. Have children,
mm,
and then get old, and then die. But my child will then be a youth, grow up, become a youth, find someone that he loves,
mm,
and repeat the same cycle. And then, have these great ideals, going to do great things, falls in love, has children, and
mm,
then he dies. And then his child is going to do the
mm,
very same thing. And my father did the same thing. And my grandfather did the
mm,
same thing. And that I was part of this incredible cycle of humanity, of history, that I was just one more cycle of this thing that's been going on for generations, for centuries, for thousands of years, that this was just one more iteration. And from that really is kind of the theme of the book, or that is what really caused me to write this book. I didn't start writing the next day. I started writing about 10 years later or 15 years later, but that is really the heart of it, was that.
and I guess in terms of what you'd want readers to read, because authors write with intention for sure. Some write without
Ah,
intention, but there's an indirect intention that manifests. Like
yes.
that may not be with your type of book. How would you want to see the reader reflect some of the thoughts and
Hmm.
questions and experiences in your own life and correlate it with theirs in terms of their under like how would because you mentioned we're all an iteration of a generation before us, and usually when we want to
Hmm.
contribute to
Hmm.
something we want to spark some type of thought or question within
Hmm.
someone that they can carry within themselves.
Yeah. So,
So
yeah. So I guess that the main history is, I don't think people understand history in the least. I don't know what it was like in South Africa, but in the United
mm,
States, they taught us history poorly, and they taught us names and dates and battles and names and
mm,
dates, and everybody was bored and everybody hated it.
mm,
But history is not that. History is the development of humanity. I mean, if you go back throughout the centuries, where were we, like 1,000 years ago, or 2,000, or 10,000 years ago? What did we believe? What would our societies like, and that kind of stuff? And if you look at, I'm talking about Western society. I'm biased. I'm from the West, but Western society, you can see a progression, and one of the progressions is religious, right? We used to believe that there was like a rain god, a river god, or whatever. And we were scared of all these different gods that might kill us, and then eventually, then we became, monogamous, or not monogamous. We had monotheist.
Yes. No, no
Kind of
worries.
the same, thing. And we had, one God, and that changed. And then we had the French Revolution, and we was like, okay, we don't have a God, we have ideals. We have ideals, and I don't know where we are now. I don't know if where we are is. I mean, the French would think that was a great step forward. I'm not sure it is, but anyway, but what I was hoping that people would get out of the book, I guess, is to really feel that we are a part of history. That history, that the real story is not you and it's not me. You're going to die. I'm going to die. Give it a generation or two, and no one's going to remember us. It doesn't matter that we lived. Maybe some book I wrote, maybe, I doubt it, but maybe someone will read it in a generation or two and it might affect them. Maybe. Probably not. And, your podcasts, maybe someone will hear them and it might affect people. They might tell their children. So maybe, yes, maybe. But no one's going to remember you. And me, no one's going to remember me. But we can affect humanity. But the whole thing is to realize that our part in the story is so small. And the real story is about humanity itself. That's the real creature. That is the creature. And we all focus on our own lives, but it's not about us. It's about the big story. And that I think is what I wanted people to really understand. And you can't explain it. I mean, I can't, here I'm talking about it, but I don't think that me just talking about it for 5 minutes is going to do it to people, that it's going to get it in their head. And that's why they wrote the book, because I bring you to that point from all these different perspectives, from looking at science and critiquing science, or looking at history and going it from that way, or looking at idealism or morality or religion. And from all these different points, we come to the same conclusion. And that's what the book kind of does.
Very, very, very interesting dynamic on how. And it's interesting because, in meditation, a lot of transcendental meditation, they talk about reducing yourself to nothing, which is a very, the dissolution of self type thing, and the true art of what is liberation, what is freedom? Because for us, at least in our minds, freedom is predominantly financial, maybe it's political. But as you're speaking of it, it really is not even that at all. It's not even the closest thing. What it is it's an existential cycle that we're actually stuck in. And a lot of people do get depressed on this point because it can either work two ways. It can motivate someone to make the most of life and its grand happenings, or it can leave people very indifferent and uncaring towards what's happening around them because, oh, I'm alive, I'm going to die. Nothing matters anyway. So why should I
you can
care?
do that. You could do that.
It really
You could do
depends
that.
on your psyche. So I guess I was going to ask you, because building onto it is the state of humanity right now, the state of what we're going through as you could say a collective, whether you believe it or not, subject. But
Mm-hmm.
then what we're going
Mm-hmm.
through as a society is quite difficult. And I feel, and I don't know if you'd agree, there's a greater degree of madness and insanity to our world that maybe I'm not too sure what it was like before. I'm sure the societies of the past had problems. The worlds of the past had crises and everything, but ours is seemingly different because one, we're so interconnected in many ways
Yeah. Yeah.
technologically, and two, it's just the extremity of it. What you see is almost, it's almost unheard of. It almost feels like it's a bit too much. So I guess,
Right.
yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on where we are as a society, and how do you suggest people cope in terms of protecting their psyche and also, as you mentioned, paying attention to the grander whole because it's tough
Yeah.
to see what's bigger than you when what's going around you is almost taking your attention away. It's forcibly taking your attention away from you, from
Oh,
this.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know you'd be so thoughtful. That's really cool. I really enjoy talking to you. I didn't expect
No,
this.
no, no, no. It's
You're an
human nature.
unusual person here. Um, all right. So first off, the way I see it is that history is long. So one of the problems with like reformers, guys, people that want to change the world,
Mm,
they expect it to happen in their lifetime, and they try to enforce it on everybody. Like you could say like Lenin or Stalin
mm, mm,
or Mao or um, I mean, maybe you could even say the South African leaders. I don't know. I don't know, but they
mm.
didn't force stuff on people, at least not Tutu and Mandela. They didn't
Mandela,
really force things on anyone. They didn't. But I guess you can say Trump is doing that, and I think the guy before
100%,
Biden is doing it.
100%, yeah.
And and so we're in a hurry because we want to see it done in our lifetimes, but change doesn't happen like that. I mean, if you think about like look at the stock market, right? It's up and down and up and down, up and down, but there's a general trend.
Mm,
And you could look at the trend over 5 years, but that's maybe you should look at the trend from like 1900 to present. That's probably a
mm,
better trend to look at. And then all these ups and downs, they're nothing. They are nothing. They're blips, right?
mm.
And so right now, what we're seeing is, you could say well, a couple of things. One you could say is the madness now is crazy. You said that it's worse than ever. Well, I don't know. I think that during World War II, it was worse than ever. I think
Mm,
so.
mhm,
I think that when Genghis Khan was coming
mm.
through and wiping
And
out Central
slaughtering.
Asia, I
Mm,
think that was worse than ever.
mm,
I think there have been a lot of worse than evers.
mm,
But but there's a general trajectory that is, those are just blips, but there's just a general trajectory that is going. It's just that we don't live long enough to see
mm.
it or to
Interesting. Yeah.
experience it. And so in your lifetime, you may see that everything's going down. It's getting worse and worse. But if you live 10 lifetimes, you would see, no, 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 it's actually getting better. This is just something we had to work out. So, for example, one of the reasons why things are crazy no, they aren't as crazy as you think. They appear crazy because we have these stupid cell phones. That's the problem.
Mm,
And it's the news on demand and all
mm,
this political opinion, some of which is computers. And we all know that. They're
mm.
bots that are making up this stuff. And there's like, I used to look at X, they called it Twitter. And I stopped. I've been off for now 3 weeks and my life is so much better. And now
Wow.
my big addiction, you could be addicted to sex, to
Mm,
gambling, to drugs, to booze. Mine is news. And it destroys my capacity to do anything or to be anything of any substance. It
wow.
just it just takes away all your attention and you can't do anything. I mean, you can't it just takes too much of your, let's say, if you're it takes too much of your RAM. I'm thinking about the random
Mm,
access
mm.
memory in your computer of your mind. It robs you of life and of
Wow.
potential. And so what I do, I pay myself now every day. I don't look at the news. I give myself $10, and I use no, I do because I want to play in the World Series of Poker, and that's going to cost me $10,000 to join. So I got to do this for quite a while.
Oh,
But but that's I'm trying to raise money to go to the World Series of Poker. And that's how I'm doing it. $10 a day of no news. But I fail a lot. But anyway, so that aside, the news, the cell phones, the constant reminders, that chatter, that's got to go. And
mm,
it isn't as bad as you think, right? I mean, if I believed all the stuff about South Africa that I see online, I would think that all the black people want to kill all the white people. All
mm,
of them want to kill all the
mm,
white people. That's what I would believe. Well, I
mm,
don't think that's true. I don't
mm,
think that's true. I know that's not true. People are people and most people are good. That's
mm.
just how it is. But you don't see that online. You
Interesting.
don't. So,
There's
yeah,
a
I
lot
don't
of
think things
wisdom.
are Yeah, I
There's a
don't think
lot of
things are as
wisdom to what
crazy
you
as
said.
people think. They're not as crazy. I remember it was a few years ago. This was right after Nord Stream. They blew up Nord Stream. Whoever they
Mm,
is, I don't know. Might be U.S. I don't know who it was,
mm.
but they blew up Nord Stream, and they said that, oh yeah, they have real energy problems, and they're going to keep they're keeping all
Yeah.
their buildings at 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Everybody's going to be cold all winter. So I went and visited because
Yeah,
I
the
wanted to
dark
see it.
winter. Yeah, there's a whole theory
It didn't
that
happen.
people are gonna freeze
Didn't happen.
themselves.
Didn't happen. Every hotel I was in, it was 70 degrees. It's like, oh, come on. This is so. Such
I actually,
garbage.
guilty as charged, I did believe that too. I'm like, oh man, finally, Europe can enjoy a power crisis that Africa have been going through for the longest time. No, unfortunately, I actually just realized I got the 6 minute signal left, 5 minute actually. So
Oh,
obviously,
crazy.
yeah, no, we went in, time flies, right? Then you're having a conversation with someone. But no, there's a lot of wisdom that you shared then. And again, I really appreciate the humility and perspective you're bringing because you mentioned that, yeah, just because something's happening in my time frame or generation or lifetime doesn't mean it's the most significant happening in history. It's another happening, and
No.
it's tough to actualize that concept because when you're living and experiencing something, it's real. It's very real to you. It's what's immediate, not what
Yeah.
happened before. So it's
Yeah.
tough to detach from reality and have that perspective you're talking about. I think it's a lot of, as you mentioned, it's a day in, day out type job where you have to consciously remind yourself it's not that big of the, oh, it's not as significant as I think it is. As much as I want to feel like it because it's happening, it's just not that way. That's not how life works. And
Mhm.
that seems to be a very, very important message that's just emanating through what you've spoken of, is just for people to take away from themselves and their lives, which is difficult because we are selfish sometimes. We are selfish most of the time.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And so I guess just to sum it up, because I mean, this interview could go on for hours. There's a lot that we've
I'd
barely
like it
touched
to.
yet.
I'm having a
There's
good time.
there's a lot to it. But I guess the two questions I'd ask, one is just in terms of the book, accessing it. What
Yeah.
platforms is it available on? Obviously, I know
Yeah.
there's Barnes and Noble and there's Amazon.
No,
But
it's so I don't know if you can see it, but maybe you can. This is it. I got to put it
beautiful,
close
that
to me to see it. But it is on Amazon, and the easy way, because unfortunately, the name is good. I thought it was cool, but it's too long and people aren't
hmm,
going to remember it. So if you just look up the word John Bliss, and they're easy words to spell, you can spell them yourself, John Bliss, and the word essays, you'll find it. So just do a search for John Bliss essays on Amazon. You'll find there's a hardback and then there's an ebook also.
ebook. Perfect. Thank you. We have Amazon here, finally.
Ah,
So
geez.
we're
Okay.
good. We're good to go on that department. And then I guess the last one is always an interesting one because I ask guests and they're like, "Oh, why are you asking this one?" Or that is completely unrelated to what we're talking about, but it is important. I feel like this is
Let's hear it.
the essence of Ubuntu. What are your words of wisdom and advice for the audience tuning in today?
Oh, I think, okay, two things. The best thing you can do to make your life better is to stop looking at social media. That's number one. No social media, no news, no
Mm,
more. That would be the best thing you can do. And it's very difficult, at least for me.
mm,
The second thing is if you have children, read to your child every night and make that be your bedtime routine. Read to them
mm,
every night until they get tired. Then you put them to bed. If you pray, pray with them, put
mm,
them to bed. But that is it's a great routine to make them, to wind them down, but also to make them smart and make
mm,
them love books. If they love
mm.
books, they will be smart and they will teach themselves throughout their lives.
Wow.
When I
Uh,
when I read to my daughter, I always read above her reading level, always above her reading level. And so there'd be words that she didn't know what they meant, and I didn't either, and we would look them up.
mm,
But yes,
wow.
those are my two words of advice, or my two sentences of
Wow.
advice.
Wasn't expecting the second one for sure. The first one, it's 100% mandatory. It's World Mental Health Day today, so I couldn't agree with the first one anymore. Like, but the second one was definitely out of the blue, and there's a lot of power to it. So I just want to say, John, it's been an absolute pleasure
Yeah,
having you
I
on the
totally
show.
enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the wisdom that you shared was not only humbling, but it was really important in terms of just keeping it together and something that's seemingly falling apart, but maybe building itself together for something new, as you mentioned. I think everything's always
That's right.
shifting towards the new and
That's right. That's
um,
right.
keeping yourself informed and always be having, as you mentioned, that deep desire to inquire for yourself, not to be given a book, but to want to read a book for your own understanding. That is powerful. That is powerful. So thank you for sharing that. It really is true. And it's very necessary for our society right now. So With that being said, it'll be good to have you on again. And who knows
Oh,
what
I'd
the
love
world
it.
will be like at that point in time. The good thing about the time we're living in is there's no shortage of commentary. There's no shortage of
Yes.
room to talk about things. But no, thank you so much, John. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, my father. Thank you very much.